whistleblowers have come forward with allegations of corrupt dealings at the Clinton Foundation. That's according to Republican Congressman Mark Meadows. He says the whistleblowers produced hundreds of pages of documents. They exposed misallocations of funds and the creation of quid pro quo arrangements during Hillary Clinton's time as Secretary of State. That would be influence peddling for those watching at home. The continuing investigation of the Clinton Foundation is the subject of a scheduled congressional hearing next week. Peter Schweitzer is well-traveled in these waters. He's the author of Clinton Cash, and he joins us tonight. Peter, thanks very much for coming on. Who are these whistleblowers? Do we know?
We know that they have done work with the FBI, that they work with a consulting firm. We know that they did research that include apparently an interview or a discussion with the CFO of the Clinton Foundation. I have not seen the material yet, Tucker, but I think it further confirms this long-established pattern of serious questions about what the Clinton Foundation is up to. And, you know, if you think of the scales of justice, Tucker, look at what launched the Trump-Russia collusion investigation, which was the Steele dossier. By the way, I thought it was a good idea to investigate this. That launched the Trump investigation. On the Clinton Foundation side, we know that money was transferred to the Clintons. We know that they had agreed to disclose donors, that they hid those donations. You can find the $20 donation from a Mary Smith in Arkansas, but the $2 million donation from the chairman of a Russian-owned uranium company was not disclosed. We know that they lied to journalists about meetings that the journalists said took place, that the Clintons said never happened, and only when the journalists showed them the photographs did they admit that they happened. And we had an internal review by the Clinton Foundation itself, done by Simpson Thacher, which talked about the fact that there was a pay-to-play expectation by big donors. So this is going to further confirm what we've already known. And for the life of me, how you can launch an investigation based on the Steele dossier, which Comey admitted was salacious and unverified, but you can look at this other body of information and say, well, there's nothing to see here, proves the point I think that Tom Fitton made earlier, that justice seems to be certainly not balanced and seems to be partisan.
So a pay-for-play offer to foreigners from a foundation run by the Secretary of State, I mean, that's in the criminal category, is it not?
Absolutely. I mean, people make this mistake all the time. They say to me, well, it's a charity. It's very, very clear. The bribery charges in the United States, the international bribery standards to which Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State committed the United States to, the international bribery standard says if you donate to a person, if you give money to a political figure, if you give to their family members, or if you give to their charity, that's all criminal if you're trying to engage in pay-to-play. And by the way, American companies who have given to legitimate charities in foreign countries for that purpose have been charged under the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. So it's a very serious issue.
So the line of the Clinton Foundation was always, as you just said, it's charity, and it continues its important work of fighting childhood obesity around the world, or whatever it was pretending to do. How is it doing now that there's no more influence to sell? Do we know?
Great question, Tucker. We know that donations are way down, off by more than 50%. Now, you would think that Bill and Hillary Clinton she's not running for president. You'd think they'd have a lot of time on their hands to do a lot of fundraising for the Clinton Foundation, but the money has basically dried up, particularly from foreign entities. So this should be no surprise, and if you chart the rise of the Clinton Foundation, particularly with foreign donations, Tucker, it rises and falls with the political fortunes of the Clintons, which is just further evidence of why they were donating this money. And by the way, to the work of the Clinton Foundation as a charity, this internal review that was done by Simpson Thacher, they interviewed Clinton Foundation employees and asked them to rate the effectiveness of the Clinton Foundation as a charity on a scale from 1 to 10. The average Clinton Foundation employee gave it a 4. So they didn't consider it a very effective charity, even though that's where they worked.
If your employees are giving you a 4 out of a scale of 10, it's a problem. Peter Schweitzer, always fact-based. I appreciate it. Good to see you.